Welcome along to the deep dive. It really is great to have you with us today. We're here to, well, cut through the clamor, unpack another really complex, pretty captivating story from sport. And right now, all eyes seem to be on Newcastle United, specifically their brilliant striker, Alexander Isak. This isn't just your standard football story. No, it's got layers, injury worries, massive transfer talk, and, the ambition of a club really trying to push on.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we've gone through the latest reports, the official club lines, expert takes, really focusing on key bits from the material called Isak's Newcastle Future, Injury, Speculation, and Value. Our job really is to bypass the noise, get to the facts, and help you, our listener, understand the whole picture behind Isak's absence from preseason and Newcastle's, well, very firm stance.
Yeah, and as we kind of set the scene here, the big question that just hits you straight away is this. Is Isak missing preseason just about an injury? Or is there, like it often happens in top-level football, something a bit more going on underneath? Let's try and peel back those layers for you. So let's kick off where the news first broke, the thing that got everyone talking. Alexander Isak, who's obviously crucial for Newcastle up front, wasn't named in the squad. Not just any trip either. The big preseason tour of Asia, 10 days, Singapore, South Korea. That's a key time for the team. His absence, well, it immediately made people think, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The official word from the club is a minor thigh issue. They've said this specific injury is, and I'm quoting here, best served by not having to face long-haul travel and playing 3 games in 12 days. And remember, he missed the Celtic game too, the 4-0 defeat last weekend. So on the face of it, maybe it adds up.
A minor thigh issue. That's the line. Okay, but this is where it starts to get a bit murky, perhaps. And I guess for you, listening, you're probably wondering the same thing. Because, let's be honest, the official reason isn't always the only reason in football, is it? Is this thigh issue the whole story? Did the report suggest anything else might be, well, factoring in?
That's the key question, isn't it? And what's really, really striking here is how open Eddie Howe, the Newcastle manager, has been. After that Celtic loss, he came out and said something quite remarkable, very candid. He stated pretty clearly that Isak missed that game because he was, quote, being affected by transfer speculation. Now, that's a direct quote. And it's not something you hear every day, moving away from just the physical injury side. It brings in the whole mental side of things, Suggests the pressure, the noise around a potential move was genuinely impacting him, even if there was a small physical problem too. It really shows you the kind of strain these players are under.
Affected by transfer speculation. Wow. You don't often get managers admitting that so openly, do you? Suggests it's more than just a slight muscle problem, maybe some real mental fatigue or distraction there. So, okay, that naturally leads us to who? Which clubs were creating this speculation? Our sources point pretty clearly towards Liverpool being interested this summer. They actually made inquiries about him, so it wasn't just paper talk. There was a real interest there.
Right, and this is where you see the transfer market domino effect, It's all interconnected. Liverpool, after asking about Isak, they then moved on and signed Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. Big deal, too, £79 million forwards. And what's really interesting about that move is that Newcastle themselves apparently quite liked Ekitike. So you've got Liverpool and Newcastle potentially looking at similar types of forwards. Liverpool getting Ekitike might have actually indirectly eased a bit of the immediate pressure on the Isak situation, at least from their end. It just highlights how one transfer can completely change the picture for other clubs and players.
That whole dance of the transfer market is fascinating. And it brings us nicely to the price tag. Newcastle's valuation, according to the sources, well, it's huge. At least £150 million. That's not just a price, is it? That's a proper hands-off message. They're drawing a line.
It absolutely is. And it brings up this idea mentioned in the source material, the Newcastle tax. This perception that just because of the ownership, other clubs think Newcastle have bottomless pockets. So when Newcastle ask about a player, the price suddenly inflates. But the reality, as the source points out, is quite different. Newcastle have been dealing with profitability and sustainability rules PSR issues for a few years now. These aren't small things. They're strict financial limits on losses over 3 years. So it's not just about wanting a high price. They're navigating some very real financial constraints, even with wealthy owners. That Newcastle tax is a real hurdle for them. So yeah, given those PSR realities, while 150 million is, let's face it, setting an incredibly high bar, the analysis we looked at suggests that if a deal were somehow to happen, it might be more likely around the 130 million mark. But even at 130 million, think about that, it would still be a Premier League record fee, and it would absolutely smash Newcastle's own record sale. It just underlines the kind of caliber player we're talking about here and how massively valuable he is to Newcastle, not just for his goals, but strategically. Says a lot about the market right now, too, doesn't it?
Definitely. So they value him incredibly highly, partly talent, partly the financial situation maybe. But the overriding message coming through, loud and clear from the sources, is that they are desperate, genuinely desperate to keep him. The club is very aware they have a big money player, yes, but they want to enjoy the fruits of their labor with him. You can sort of feel that, can't you? Especially when you think about the work Eddie Howe and his team have put into developing Isak over the last 2 or 3 years. It's an investment. And they want the return on the pitch, not just in the bank.
That's absolutely spot on. And what's really key here, maybe reassuring for the fans, is how united the club seems on this. It's not just Howe saying it. The feeling is shared. Howe is desperate to keep hold of Isak, yes, but crucially, the club's owners feel exactly the same. Howe himself said it after the Celtic game. Everyone is aligned on that at the club. So no division there. It seems like a collective decision, top to bottom. Real commitment to their main man.
And that commitment ties directly into their plans for the season, right? Their ambitions. They want Isak to stay for at least another season, specifically to spearhead their double-pronged attack on the Premier League and the Champions League. He's not just an asset they could cash in. He's absolutely central to their hopes for success this year, leading the line on 2 huge fronts.
And Howe's comments after that Celtic game, they were really quite something. Very insightful, pretty powerful too. He said, and this is the direct quote again, "It was my decision. He traveled to Glasgow with us, but I decided to send him home due to the speculation around him." Then he adds, "The last thing he wanted is to be sat in the stands watching. That wasn't fair to him." That tells you a lot about looking after the player, the mental side of things, Howe's empathy maybe. But then he followed it with real conviction. "But I'm confident he will be a Newcastle player come the end of the window." That's a strong statement in itself. And he went on, clarifying that Isak and Julian Truton too were actually fit, but he just felt they weren't ready to play. That's a subtle but important difference, isn't it? Not injured, but maybe mentally not quite there because of all the noise. Then he made this point about top players. We have a few of those players who are irreplaceable. Your top players are so hard to find, so hard to recruit, and so hard to develop. So when you have them, you need to treasure them. That feels like more than just standard manager talk. What makes Isak irreplaceable for them?
It's not just goals, surely. It's the pace, the movement, the versatility, how he fits Howe's system, maybe. That specific blend is rare. And irreplaceable also hints at the time and money already invested. You can't just go out and buy that perfect fit instantly. It means their strategy has to be about keeping guys like him and adding carefully around them. Howe finished by saying, "Of course we're desperate to keep him as part of our team. I've had discussions with him, but that's not abnormal. I respect a player's career and how short it is. Alex has been really good, he's trained really well, and I realize there'll be noise around him." Aha! It really makes you think, doesn't it? How do clubs balance wanting pub performance with actually looking after the player's well-being in these intense situations? It says a lot about Howe's approach that he's so open about it all.
Yeah, those quotes really bring the whole situation to life, the pressures on Isak and on the club. And it's worth remembering, Isak isn't just sitting there isolated. He's part of a Newcastle team that's, pretty stacked now. Full of talent, full of ambition. Just look at their preseason schedule. Arsenal, Spurs, Atletico Madrid, Espanyol. Big games. And the squad list for the tour they did take. Fletcher Demos in goal, Botman, Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Barnes, Gordon, Sisley. Serious players. This is a team aiming high, and Isak is clearly meant to be the focal point of that attack.
Exactly. So when you pull all these different strands together, the injury, the speculation, the valuation, the PSR, Howe's comments, the squad strength, the Isak situation kind of becomes a snapshot of modern football, doesn't it? You see this constant balancing act. Player fitness versus mental well-being, especially under the glare of transfer talk. Then you add the club's big strategic goals aiming for the Premier League, Champions League, against the backdrop of financial rules. And Howe being so open about the speculation affecting Isak's readiness, that's pretty unusual. It gives you a real insight into the pressures these top players face. It's not just about being physically fit anymore, is it? It's about being mentally ready to perform when there's so much noise and so much at stake.
Right, so just to wrap up our deep dive on Alexander Isak, let's quickly recap the main points we've pulled out for you. We've got his absence from pre-season, officially a minor thigh issue, but also crucially acknowledged by the manager as being impacted by transfer speculation. Mental readiness being key. We've looked at Newcastle's massive valuation, understanding the context of the Newcastle tax and those important PSR constraints they operate under. And maybe the biggest takeaway, the club's clear united front. They are determined to keep him as they gear up for a huge season, competing on 2 fronts.
Yeah, Absolutely. And thinking about it, this Isak story, it's bigger than just one player or one club, isn't it? It really shines a light on the intense pressures on footballers today, the financial tightropes clubs have to walk, even the wealthy ones, and the whole power play of the transfer market. Leaves you with a thought, maybe. What does this whole episode really tell us about the true cost of talent in football now? Is it just the massive transfer fee? Or is there more to it? The impact on player welfare, the strategic headaches for clubs, all these unpredictable market forces swirling around, something to mull over.
Some powerful questions there to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope you feel you've got a clearer picture now, and maybe it's sparked a bit more curiosity about what goes on behind the headlines. Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.